For this next question, let's take it a little deeper. Name a prominent Black figure that has impacted you and or why they are important to you.
I don't have a specific African American softball player, but I would say my mom for the most part, because she basically showed me that Black women can do anything in the world. She's a travel nurse, so she travels and she sees a lot of different communities and underserved communities. So she just tells me all the time how proud of me she is for having a voice at my PWI and standing up for what I believe in and being a powerful Black woman.
You know, for me, my person, I have multiple people, but the person I'm gonna talk about right now, I would talk about. He doesn't play the same sport as me, but you know, he's a prominent figure. I would say LeBron James. You know, doing that, he's the greatest basketball player of all time, and he's also a great man off the court. You know, the things that he's done for his community in Akron. You know, he started a school for grade 1 to 8, and it's for at-risk children in the Akron community, and it gives the students tuition and it helps them, start their educational life and be able to push them to influence them to go to college or go to high school to even just graduate, help them promote their future in their life. And then the next person I would go with is my dad, because my dad he's worked in the jail. He's also worked at high schools, and he works on he helps kids not be in trouble. He keeps them from doing dumb things. He helps kids out all the time. And being a young kid walking around in my community and having people walk up to my dad and say, thank you for saving me, keeping me from out the streets and keeping me from doing dangerous things, that just helps me and wants me to help the youth and keep them on the street line and always be a good role model. So things like that just help me out a lot.
It's a great answer. So we have mom, dad, prominent figure, LeBron James.
Yeah, for me, it would probably be my dad too. He was a criminal justice professor at Southern University, and so he was always in with social justice. He was always keeping me informed, and that's honestly why I am the person I am today. We're actually very similar. We have the same personality. But so what I really want to talk about was my former assistant coach, Shonda Cole Wallace. She was just so awesome. She didn't it's not that she specifically was doing anything. She was just there, and she was just such an amazing woman. She was just so I can only describe her as excellent. She was really top tier, and she was just amazing. She always had your back. She was a great support system for me. She still is. Still talk to her, and she was just an amazing woman. And I would also say that, she was an All-American here. She was in the Hall of Fame. She's absolutely one of the greatest of all time. But I absolutely, just appreciated her type of presence, because she always just showed me, just through her day-to-day. She didn't do anything specific. She's not out here, doing rallies and doing everything that we probably would assume from what we think Black figures are supposed to be doing in society and, how we're fighting for the people, but she always just showed me what I could be through her everyday life, and just showing up and always had a smile on her face. Those type of things, those type of minimal things or small things that actually make really big waves and big changes, is always just seeing somebody great that looks like you, that always reminds you that you can be great too, because I'm always if Shauna can do it, I can do it. So yeah.
And that's a great story. And it brings me kind of to jump in on this one. It brings me to who very important to me, which is my dad. So my dad was also a professor at the University of Georgia, so also a very large institution. So kind of grew up on that campus a little bit as he went from his master's to his PhD by the time we were born. And one of the things that he always instilled in us was education. But also he was really big as a junior and senior in high school, do all voter registration. So he was actually had to have Georgia Air National Guard walk him to class his senior year because he was getting death threats. So I grew up in a house where we learned the pride and what beauty is in reading books as I grew up kind of early. He was actually on his way to prom, and this is a pretty big story. He's on his way to prom and I guess I already had gotten a young lady to go to where they were, and the parents had to go get him because they were gonna grab him from prom to, I guess at this point, lynching in those late 60s as a high school kid. And so him joining the service was more about it's best you get out of town more than him just going into the Air Force. And all of his degrees he actually got after he broke his neck. He broke his neck when I was 2. And so he's a disabled vet, Vietnam era. Came home, and all of his degrees he got after he typed his dissertation with a pencil because he was a quadriplegic, broke his neck, and then would type out his paper. Like, so that big dissertation with a pencil. So it's great to hear that you all have great stories too of who you look for, and as your mother, the travel nurse. These are great stories where a lot of times we sometimes may feel marginalized, like people don't hear our story. So it's great to hear the backstory of what you have. So that's great. That's great.